Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 12. You are almost there. I want to tell you to keep going, right? Get that motivation up. Like you've come so far, you're almost there. You're literally almost at the end. And from weeks 9 through 14, you're dealing with like confidence intervals and hypothesis testing. So hopefully you can see, the importance of that. And I have a good nursing example this week in the announcements. Check that out. Um, this is fun stuff, inferential statistics. And I want, you to recognize too that, let me share my screen real quick. Um, you know, weeks 9 through 14, remember when we talked about, from the beginning, knowing the difference between a sample and a population, knowing the difference between a sample statistic and a population parameter. And then these variables are significant. Okay, like a sample mean is X bar, a population mean is mu, sample standard deviation is S, population standard deviation is sigma, and you'll get to proportion within the next couple of weeks. But if you remember sample proportion, there were two representations. I use p hat often, and then p is population proportion. And then I started to, you'll see, I think last week and definitely this week as we progress, I started to use this table that I can share with you if you'd like, which kind of organizes the three scenarios that you'll see. I think, yeah, the three scenarios that you'll see for confidence intervals and hypothesis testing, where you're going, run estimate a population proportion or estimate a population mean. But if you're estimating a population mean, is sigma known or sigma unknown? These are the only three cases that you're going to be dealing with, from weeks 9 through 14. This week, week 12, we're dealing with population mean, the third one, where sigma, the population standard deviation, is unknown. And what that does is it takes us to a student t distribution, which is also, normally distributed, but there we have to consider degrees of freedom this time. So we use t-test if we're dealing with trying to find a test statistic or a p-value, and we deal with t-interval if we're looking for a confidence interval this week. But it is really important to identify whether you're using z or t, especially for the final, because you're not going to know which week it's in. But this week is focused on this, but practice getting used to reading the word problem and converting what it tells you into your notation, and then identifying which situation you have. So to practice that. And I do that in my webinar too. And then, when you get into like interpreting these things, this is the repetition that I've been talking about. There's a lot of similarities, the types of tests, if it's left-tailed, right-tailed, or two-tailed, what our conclusion is. Do we reject the null or do we fail to reject the null? And then if we reject the null, there's sufficient evidence to support the alternative, whatever that might be. If we fail to reject the null, there's insufficient evidence to support the alternative. Like that is repetitive. How we come to our conclusion, between the two methods. If you guys like if the p-value is low, the HO must go. If you watch my webinars, the Snoop Dogg example, that will also tell you if you're rejecting the null or failing to reject the null. And I want you guys to recognize that it's doable, but it does require practice. And, as you start to get it, keep practicing. You could do it, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Don't listen to what anyone else says about statistics. And you find your way and you figure it out, whatever method is best. If you find yourself lacking or missing or forgetting something when it comes to a calculator trick, or when it comes to like drawing the curve for critical values, put that on your reference sheet. You guys have reference sheets that you can use each week. Put what you need there. Use it. There's a practice test. Use them. You know what I mean? Use the videos that you have. Use the resources. You have tutoring in the math lab. Do what you got to do, get through. You're almost done. So keep going, okay? And I'm here for you if you have questions.